What's good, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy too. For those of you guys who don't know, I'm a commercial photographer, videographer, creator based out here in New York, originally from Oakland. Some of the clients I've worked with in the past is like Apple, Nike, a couple of tourism boards and airlines, and I focus a lot on travel, technology, and just like lifestyle stuff. I like creating content around stuff that I genuinely love. So if you ever scroll through any of the videos on my channel, it's probably something I'm genuinely interested in. Something that's always stayed constant in my life is creativity. The camera, my grandma with a camera. It's allowed me to share my story in the form of video. I dedicated my life to this after getting my hands onto one. I wanted to create this video because I was super inspired by just like running through the loops of getting ready for a gig. And you probably clicked on this because you just landed your very first gig and you're probably wondering how you're gonna prep for that. I pretty much created this simplified list of 7 things that you should make sure you should do before your big gig. And even if this isn't your first time working professionally for a gig, maybe these steps can help you on your next gig. So this video is going to be one of many that I'm going to create into a series, and hopefully you watch and hopefully you enjoy this. So getting right into it, the first step, and this is probably a step that some of us may miss. I know I've done it plenty of times, but it's just to, 1, charge your batteries. Whether you're shooting on your smartphone or shooting on a like DSLR or mirrorless camera, you want to make sure you have at least 2 to 3 extra batteries or a battery pack to aid you on your shoot. I've definitely shown up to shoots with like batteries half charged, and sometimes just even leaving the battery at home, like on the charger. So you want to make sure you have battery, because without battery, you pretty much can't do your shoot. Tip number 2 is to make sure you format your memory cards, or at least back up the content that you have shot previously onto like a hard drive or onto your computer. And I know some of us may or may not have that extra storage space, so we do shoot on memory cards continuously. I would suggest that going into your shoot, you go in there with like a clean slate, nothing on it. So one thing you really got to focus on is formatting that card on your camera, because if you format it on a different camera, you may run into the problem of it being corrupted or the files just get all funky, and that's something you don't want to do. Like, one thing you don't want to run into, and I've definitely done this myself plenty of times, is to run out of space on your shoot, especially if you're like shooting a wedding or you're shooting an event and it's that moment, but you don't have an extra card on you. The last thing you want is to have not enough space, and yeah, you definitely just don't want that. All right, third thing, and this is kind of more on a personal note because some creators work a little differently, but number 3 is to clean your gear. I just personally enjoy cleaning my gear, and not everybody's like that. From getting lens wipes to wipe down your lenses, using a rocket blower to get out the dust, and you know, the LCD screen too, but that's a little more so on the OCD side of me. Also, I'm a Virgo, so I just enjoy cleaning. So the main reason why you want to clean your gear is because the last thing you want is to go through your images or videos and to see that there's a dust mark that's on each one of the images. And it's a lot easier on Lightroom and Photoshop to correct that, but when it comes to video, it's a really like pain in the ass, because you really don't want to run into that problem. So I suggest that, you know, you use a rocket blower, you know, clean your sensors, clean your glass. Even if it's your iPhone, just like wipe it down. And like I said before, these are like small tedious tips, and more on the back end. I'm going to create videos towards the future where we could get a little more creative, more into like creative direction, planning times, and you know, light and different types of shots. But just for now, I'm just doing the pre-production stuff, just making sure you're prepared for your very first gig. All right, tip number 4 is to make sure your settings are correct. So I've definitely said this before because I've actually done this, and I've said this for like almost all the tips, but I remember shooting a whole gig like on JPEG. Bruh. Even though JPEG is deliverable, you can't really manipulate the light and exposure and, you know, all the colors that you want to manipulate. You can't do that with JPEGs. You can, but then it'll kind of destroy the image. You gotta shoot on RAW for photos at least. And all you want to do is just make sure your settings is set to RAW and JPEG if you want, just so you could deliver the photos faster to your client. And for video shooters, if this is your first like real big gig and you're kind of in that beginner stage, just shoot on standard profile. Like, don't worry about the colors. You want to focus more on getting the shot rather than how you're going to manipulate it in post. Like, as a beginner, like when you have to worry about X, Y, and Z, I feel like that takes away from the whole creative process. So just, you know, keep it on standard, even though I personally preferably shoot on flat, but that's because I have the software and the hardware that could handle color grading. If you're a beginner, I'm almost pre-assuming that your laptop may not be the fastest, and that will consume a lot more time for color grading. So if this is your very first like big gig, don't worry about that. I would highly suggest that you don't. Second thing in the settings is the time code. So you just want to make sure that your time code is set to today's date, today's time, or whatever time it is for you. And if you're shooting on multiple cameras, you just want to make sure that all the time codes match, so that when you bring the photos or the videos into your editing software, then everything will match up. Because you don't want something shot in 2007 and then something shot in 2019, because they just won't match up. And the last thing is frame rates. So depending on your project, whether you're shooting like a lifestyle shoot that's full slow motion, you can shoot that all in 60 frames and slow it down. Or if you're shooting something that's a little more real time, then you can shoot at 24 frames. Obviously the frame rates differ depending on what country you're in, but if you're in the US, then stick to 24. If you're shooting slow-mo, 60 frames. And if you want that extra slow-mo and your phone or your camera can handle it, 120 frames, even 240 if you want to get like really crazy. So if you have at least those 3 settings down, it should set you on a good path for a good shoot. Tip number 5 is to be presentable. And this actually applies to every job that you're sort of walking into. Even though some of the most creative creators could just wear whatever the heck they want and still be able to do a good job. I'm only saying this because this is your first big gig and you want your outfit or appearance to just match the content that you're shooting. So if you're shooting like an engagement shoot or a wedding or just like an event, you want to match that lifestyle. So if you're going out and shooting like an outdoor engagement session, just wear a quick little button up. If you're shooting some lifestyle content at the gym, wear gym apparel, and your client will probably be pretty happy with you looking the part as well. And you know, like I said, this actually applies to almost every job or professional activity that you want to get into. It doesn't typically have to be a button up. Just wear like a, you know, like a t-shirt that doesn't have like, you know, like Ninja Turtles on it. Just look presentable, look cool, just be cool, shave, do your hair, and you know, don't look like you just woke up, because I've definitely done, I say this for every tip, I've done that too. And don't do what I did, because you're just gonna look unprofessional. And they, you know, these clients that you're working with or working on, like they may hire you for the next time. And if you got that personality, it actually goes a long way. It may lead to more gigs. And when I looked at it from the wedding industry point of view, every bridesmaid, every groomsman may be getting married soon. So they look at you as a reflection of, we're gonna see the way that they work and maybe we'll hire them for our wedding. So those are potential clients, and everyone else who sees you working are potential clients. Tip number 6 is to make a brief shot list. And this obviously should be spoken with your client beforehand, but you know, just simple things as like B-roll clips, following shots, close-up shots, medium shots. Whatever your catalog of shooting is, you want to make sure you list those things out. And maybe you could specify, you know, what you focus on or what you're really good at, so that your client knows that there's that, you know, exchange and what they could expect. Because the last thing you want is an unhappy client. And you know, if you're watching this video, we're about to deliver some of the best video and photos that your clients have ever seen, hopefully, right? And tip number 7, this is the most important tip, I can't stress this enough, is to have fun. I think us as creators, we have one of the coolest jobs in the world, to be able to capture moments, events, stories of people, places, things, food, and you're dedicating your time to this. And, you know, our time is precious, and if you want to take this seriously, this gig that you just landed will lead to more gigs. Like this video or photos that you're going to produce, these sets you're going to produce, other people are going to see it when you share it onto, you know, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media outlet or portfolio you have, website, this one gig is gonna lead to the next 2 and 3 and 4, or whatever you decide to make of it. So that pretty much wraps up this video, and I hope that these tips that I shared with you guys could integrate into your workflow. And everybody has a different flow, but these are just some of the things I've learned over the years of shooting and working on different events, campaigns, and working with a handful of clients. Something I wanted to ask to you guys who are more in the intermediate pro level, who are watching this video, like what have you guys learned over these years that you want to pass down to the beginner generation? Leave it down in the comments below. Other than that, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, peace.
Yay!